That's another part of my strategy with tastings. And
that was my hand, by the way.
that was not my knee, right? It's a $700 bottle.
The original master distiller. You're pretty annoying, right?
What, me?
But that doesn't mean that you can't convert your friends and family to fellow whiskey lovers, which is really the dream.
Yeah, because the thing is, you want someone, when they finally get into whiskey,
right,
to not want to not tell you because they don't want to give you the satisfaction.
So there's so many of us whiskey drinkers out there. We're so excited about it, enthusiastic about it. So this is an episode about how to talk about your favorite whiskey and not annoy people, and hopefully win over your friends and family. Who we're going to bring in, Dave?
We've got a friend of mine, Dave Allardice. Is that correct? Allardice.
Allardice.
Allardice. Allardice.
Allardice.
Yeah.
Dave. Okay, so Dave. Bing bong.
You had it right at Dave.
Dave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you nailed
Dave.
it.
That's fair.
I am a brand ambassador for Glenfiddich single malt Scotch whiskey.
Okay, so what does that entail? Like, what does Glenfiddich get out of you going out and being an ambassador for them?
You're a walking, talking billboard. Hopefully you're more than that though. You're a personality, you're a relationship builder. You're the one that brings the knowledge, the education, hopefully a little bit of style with that.
Yeah.
Still working on that after 9 years. But you know, you're trying to bring the distillery to life to the people around the world, and I've got about 18 or 19 colleagues around the world that do something similar to what I do.
So this is where I think it's going to be most relevant to people, because your job is to basically provide experiences and convert people into being whiskey lovers, whiskey enthusiasts, whiskey
Absolutely,
drinkers.
yeah.
And so I think a lot of people watching this, they would love to have more of their friends and family be deeply into whiskey, because whenever you can share your buddies a collection, you can expand your own horizons. There's just so many reasons why you want to have a lot of friends who are also into whiskey with you.
Have you ever had a moment where someone asked you about whiskey and then you started talking and then at some point you watched their eyes glaze over?
Yeah, and you think, I went too deep. I think it's self-awareness is key, right?
Oh, yeah.
And confidence is important as well. The longer you've been in the industry, the more confidence you should have. And that allows you to not have to try and tell everyone how much you know. Have you ever been in front of, I mean, you guys are super knowledgeable, obviously, but have you ever been in front of someone that actually makes whiskey, a distiller, or, well, you guys
They don't talk a lot. Yeah.
But the more that you know, the less that you feel the need to show off.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes when people get a little bit of information, they feel like, oh, I have to show everyone how good I am and how much I know. And that's where the self-awareness kind of falls apart, right, for some people.
Basically, it sounds like, are you saying, make it about them?
Correct. It's really about giving value.
Yeah.
Whether they're there to be entertained or whether they're there to be educated, it has to be about them. And you have to have the self-awareness to read the room, understand by asking a few early questions where the level of knowledge is, where the enthusiasm is it a geeky audience, or some people that are just brand new to the category that kind of just want to taste a few cool things and want to know the basics. It should be enjoyable, first and foremost.
Okay.
If I go into a room and present to a group of people, whether it's educational or more on the entertainment side than just tasting, the number one thing that I want them to leave with is a positive experience, that they had a good time,
Right.
And I wasn't annoying.
Yeah, so honestly, I think that's a huge thing. Look, I get it. Whenever you're deeply excited about something, you just want to talk about it. You share all of these things that you know. But if you are trying to have the best interaction with that other person, you do need to ask yourself, are you trying to demonstrate your own knowledge and put yourself on a pedestal?
Right.
Or are you just trying to meet them where they're at?
Yep, and that separates the people that really care deeply and understand what it's about versus the people that just kind of do want to be on a pedestal and kind of show off, you know, what they know.
I do have a qualifying question, but also, I'm a little parched.
Say no more.
Warm today. It's a bit warm today.
This is kind of a cheeky little thing.
Yeah.
Right? So everybody knows what this is.
Yeah.
Glenfiddich. All is not what it seems.
What do we got?
What is
Oh,
that?
is it the Phoenix?
You not heard of this before?
Snow Phoenix?
This
Is this a special thing?
This was released right before I started with the company, 2012. There was a lot of snow at the distillery. Some of the warehouse roofs collapsed.
Yeah.
They created a marketing story out of it and a limited edition. Yeah.
This is sort of like the fallen Barton barrels.
Dude, there
that
better be.
Someday there's going
this
to be a
is
fallen
fallen
barrel
whiskey.
release.
Yeah.
You're talking back in 2010, and
Wow.
there wasn't a whole lot of those disaster bottlings, but it kind of spawned kind of a trend, I think.
I like that. Maybe we need a disaster.
I think we just had one, didn't we? The whole world had one.
Touche.
This is a little higher strength, 47%, non-chill filtered.
So this is just selected barrels, basically.
I think a variety between about 14 and 19 years old, but
Okay, nice.
the jury's out on that one.
So if you were sitting down with somebody completely fresh, completely new, what would you say? What would you ask to walk them through a pour like this?
First of all, I'd say, are you familiar with the brand that we're talking about? Do you understand the difference between non-chill filtered?
I'm gonna say I've heard of Glenfiddich, but the chill filtered. What is the non-chill?
Yeah.
Is that like putting it on ice?
The chill filtration conversation is very geeky.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
So you might just want to say, well, it's a process that removes some impurities. That could keep it very top level. Or if you've really had the right audience, you could go a little bit deeper and talk about exactly what that chill filtration process is.
You do a thing which I think is very smart whenever you're having conversations with people. You answer the question as asked.
Yes.
And then you stop. You don't see that as an opportunity to, deliver a monologue for 20 minutes about the pros and cons of chill filtering. It's like you just answer the question, and if there's, if they want to know more, then they can ask follow-up questions.
That's another part of my strategy with tastings and education and
That was my hand, by the way.
presentation.
I reached down to put my hand on my leg and missed.
That was not my knee.
You come in on that train? In a manner of speaking. Sir, I gotta tell you something. And I say this with an unblemished record of staunch manliness. You smell right nice.
Well, thank you, sir. I was just thinking the same thing.
Well, I appreciate that.
Is that sagebrush or what is that?
Well, that is a mixture of my own concoction on the trail between holdups.
Holdups. Well, dadgummit, I'm an outlaw too, you know.
You are?
Yes, sir. Just robbed that train out there. So I will admit that you do have an enchanting musk about you.
I say this, vulnerable and humble, but I didn't get all of this enchanting aroma on the trail. Home on the Range Body Wash is an exceptional product.
Sir, I'm not one to share too much about feelings and such, but I too use outlaw soaps.
Son of a bitch. I understand you smell right without smelling too fancy. As long as we're sharing our innermost secrets and desires, Outlaw Soap Solid Cologne is quite frankly fantastic.
I do have to say, ever since I started using Lust in the Dust body lotion, I've been feeling pretty supple myself.
That's all well and good. I think the most important thing is we figure out a way for future generations to understand how to smell rugged. Holy hell.
What in the Sam hell's that?
I am an outlaw from the future.
What wisdom do you have to share with us?
People in the future have two buttholes.
Well, sir?
Celebrate your Pops' Father's Day with the Big Daddy gift set, including Blazing Saddle Solid Cologne, the Gambler Body Wash, and 7 different rugged flavors of soap. Click the link in the description below and use the code WhiskeyTribe for 10% off your entire order.
Outlaw Soaps. American-made, rugged sundries for adventurous folk like you.
One of my mentors, Ian Miller, who was distillery manager of many Scotch whisky distilleries, global ambassador for Glenfiddich, and he broke it down one time. He says, lead the conversation from the audience by asking them or demanding them to ask questions.
Yeah.
So, if I'm new to this, I just had bourbon and this smells different.
Yeah, the first thing I would say is that with a high strength spirit, you don't need to swirl the glass. You can, but you don't need to, because it's going to be popping out of the glass anyway, unlike wine where you're trying to get oxygen into it. So you put your nose in, not too far, and you might just say, well, I smell whiskey, right? So I just think of asking people, like, what's something really basic, something that you might eat or drink other than whiskey that you can pick up? But it's not for me to try to tell people what they're going to taste and smell.
Exactly. Right. That's where we get into number one rule in the Whiskey Tribe is the best whiskey is whiskey you like to drink the way you like to drink it, because a lot of this can be so subjective. And I think one of the biggest hesitations for new people is they feel like, man, if they're asking me what flavors are in here and I don't really know and I don't want to say the wrong thing, they think there's going to be a wrong answer.
Correct.
And so
That's my question. How do you jumpstart people volunteering things without implanting things in their head for them.
It's tricky. One way I can think of is when we went to the Scotch Whisky Research Institute many years ago, they showed us this device that they put, it's like a mechanical nose, I guess, and they put it over a glass of whiskey, and it plots these different characteristics and aromas over the course of, say, an hour, and it came up with like 100 for an average malt whiskey. It says so it could go from rose petals to licorice to toffee. It says there are literally no wrong answers.
Right.
Because it's not just what it says on the bottle or what I taste and what I tell you I taste. There literally could be 30 or 40 different things that you as an individual could pick out. So, the taste. I always tell people that when you're drinking whiskey and you're not really used to it, don't just throw it to the back of your throat.
Yeah.
It has to sit in your palate for a few seconds at least. Let some of that saliva build up, allow your palate to acclimatise to the alcohol, and then let it release. If you feel a burn that's uncomfortable, that's when you start to look at adding a touch of water or maybe an ice cube. Some people again have this idea that if I add water to it, I'm less of a pro. I'm less in the know, or even if you want to make it old school, I'm less of a man, right? And you can't even say things like that anymore, right? Because it's not inclusive, but you get the point.
What's something you've seen somebody in your life that you know is like considered important whiskey person, but drinking in such a way that you thought, man, if the snobs could see you drinking whiskey like that, they would just have a fit, and they don't realize their hero drinks whiskey like this.
That's a brilliant question. I've got a great example. David Stewart is the malt master distiller for the Balvenie. Used to look after Glenfiddich too. He's been in the industry for, I don't want to age him too much, 58 years I think. And he and I were standing at this bar at a company event, and he ordered a Balvenie 12 single barrel, and he's got a glass of water here and his glass of whiskey here, and he just goes like this, like dumps half of his water in. Because when they're in the blending room, they bring the alcohol down to about 20% so they can nose it. I'm not trying to say he doesn't know how to drink. Obviously he knows how to drink, but he's unfussy.
Man, that right there, I think
that's the term.
If there's
unfussy.
If there's one thing that Daniel and I have noticed the more that we've been getting into conversations with people that are professionals in whiskey, it's like there's so much more easygoing about every part of this. We were in Ireland and we were having dinner after the shoot with Ger Buckley from Middleton, the 5th generation Master Cooper. And we ordered some whiskeys, and he ordered his on the rocks. And we didn't say anything, but Daniel and I both went, "All right, okay, good." Obviously, this man for 5 generations, his family has been deeply involved with whiskey professionally. They've been doing it forever and ever. But the fussiness and the people that want to like draw a line in the sand, it's like, what are you doing? You're just distancing yourself between you and people that could be amazing to have some whiskey experiences with.
Overly precious.
So
we got to bring out the big boys.
What is that?
3-0.
Well, Rex already had his limit for the day.
This is something that is not your everyday, right? It's a $700 bottle.
The original master distiller.
Number 4.
Hands.
That is fair.
You're thirsty, huh?
You had him at $700 whiskey.
This is a classic style for the distillery. Combination of bourbon casks, sherry casks, married together at the end. I say the word married because if you use the word blended, quite often people can get confused by that.
They misconstrue that. Absolutely.
So single malt whiskey obviously is just the product of one distillery, but it's the blending or marriage of many casks from that distillery. But when you use the B word, people say, "Oh, I thought we were drinking single malts," and then you have to like correction.
When do you actually correct versus? Like, how do you do it?
Well, a good example of that would be the name of the brand, Glenfiddich. People often say, and in Scotland we say Glenfiddich. So this is particularly sensitive when maybe a general manager or a beverage director is introducing you to the audience and say, Glenfiddich ambassador. I might not address that immediately, but shortly thereafter I might say, I know a lot of people say Glenfiddich around the world, but in Scotland we actually pronounce it Glenfiddich. And it's a very soft way of correcting someone without directly saying they were wrong. Shall we?
Yes.
Yes, please. Wow.
Much richer, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's more dense.
I have more honey on this nose. Wow, so soft. Then I'm gonna say
soft.
It's smooth. And smooth is, we've done a whole episode about the loaded word of smooth. This is so smooth.
It can be an overused word, but if it's smooth, it's smooth.
Are there any other things that, the whiskey enthusiast, the whiskey lover, the whiskey nerd at home should keep in mind if they're trying to convert more of their friends, possibly more of their family, into enjoying whiskey with them?
Well, for some people, no actually does mean no when it comes to whiskey. Like some people are just never gonna be interested. The percentage of people like that is actually quite small. My mother hates the smell of whiskey. And there was this one time where I brought out a bottle of 21-year-old it was actually to serve to some of our whiskey loving friends at a birthday party. Next thing you know, Mum's like, oh yeah, we'll all have one. And they weren't drunk at this point. It was brunch. I mean, it didn't take long after that, but I even poured a 21-year-old for my mum and she actually said, that's not terrible. It's not for everyone, right? And it's quite a challenging thing to get into. Wine is much easier, beer is easy. For some people, maybe lower ABV cocktails. But once you do get into this, you know it's a slippery slope. You getting parched yet or not?
We're getting a little thirsty here. Just
this is actually a little cheeky number.
What?
This was released a few years back. It's called the Vintage Cask. It's actually only available in the airports.
okay.
Oh, so it's a travel retail.
Retail.
It's a peated Glenfiddich.
I didn't even know this existed.
Yes.
Wow.
So
I didn't either.
we have only ever released a handful of peated Glenfiddichs. This is either my favourite or my joint favourite. I think this might surprise you guys.
Oh, that's nice.
Ooh.
This is more in my wheelhouse.
Yep.
I mean, I love Glenfiddich, but this is...
It's a bit more meaty.
Yeah, it's very proteiny. This isn't just a little hint of smoke.
No,
I mean,
it's hefty.
yeah, it's a thick dose of it. Yeah.
That is... it's still delicate, though.
Yeah, super balanced. One final question. If somebody is ready to upgrade from trying to convert their friends and family and doing it in the most enjoyable way possible, it's going to be the most likely for you to get people to enjoy this process with you. And they're looking to upgrade into a more professional role. There are reps and there are ambassadors. Whenever somebody says reps, it's like, well, I mean, I've been in like the little mom and pop shop liquor store and there's a guy at a pitiful little plastic table.
Been there.
They're hunched over and they're like, oh, you want to try some? Okay, cool. Checking their phone the whole time.
Yeah, what is this? I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't think many people want to do that as a career. But what you do as a job sounds really freaking cool. The ability to travel around, talk to interesting people, have cool experiences, share whiskey. How does somebody get into that line of work?
Different ways, but I tell you, I got into it the way you just described.
Okay.
A friend of mine, I was a web designer 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and a friend of mine suggested that I come to work for him, for Glenfiddich in Balvenie. So I was the guy in the liquor store, behind the pitiful little table, rocking the polo, the branded polo, pouring grants for an audience on a Saturday afternoon. I tried to be enthusiastic as I could about it, but it was difficult. You can go to an agency like that, get the job that gets your foot in the door, gets you to meet the people that actually work for the supplier, for the company, for the distributor, whatever the case may be. Do a great job, be enthusiastic, learn as much as you can. There's no one size fits all to become a brand ambassador. There's a number of boxes you can check. You don't have to check them all. But you could be very good with people, but you don't really know a lot about Scotch yet, or whiskey. You can learn.
I've heard this sentence that like you can do some things for a Scottish brand, but you're not going to grow in the brand unless you're Scottish. Is that true?
Well, did you just ask a Scotsman if that's true?
Yeah, no, because honestly, as a consumer, if I went to a tasting for Glenfiddich, there might be a small petty part of me that would be a little bummed if it was just like some Alabama redneck.
You know what?
Who knew a lot about Glenfiddich.
As much as you can learn about whiskey, you can also learn how to fake a Scottish accent.
That's what I'm saying.
How's your American accent?
Oh, hey, yeah. You've been in Texas for a while.
You know it's impossible to offend anybody here.
It's not, I'll offend myself.
No. I got a very American sentence for you. Ready? I came here to kick ass and chew bubble gum. And I'm all out of bubble gum.
I came here to kick ass and chew bubble gum. And I'm fresh out of bubble gum.
Yes.